I'm Charlie, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be doing something very unlike me and talking about a Windows computer. This video is going to be a designer's review of the Microsoft Surface Book. I was given this computer to test out and create some tutorials for the Adobe Students channel, which you can watch linked down below in the description. And I just want to tell you about my experience using it and some of its more unique features. Now, I will preface this by saying that I am a Mac user. I have been ever since I started university, and Macs were what they used there, so that's just what I got used to and continue to buy. I did use a PC though, however, several years ago now in my first ever proper design job. We used a desktop PC, but that was a while ago now. So it's been really interesting to try out a more modern Windows computer and see what it has to offer and what it doesn't have to offer. Let's get into the review. First I want to talk about the design. So this is obviously much more advanced than the desktop PC I used all those years ago. Essentially, this is a laptop with a touch screen, but you can also remove the screen and use it as a tablet. So that's pretty cool. And it comes with this pen here as well that you can use as a stylus on the touch screen. I think this is made of magnesium, but one thing I will say about it is it's not light. It's probably one of the thinnest Windows laptops I've ever seen, like probably one of the nicest designed ones, but it's still quite heavy when comparing it to my MacBooks. I think the reason for this though is that it's got two batteries, one in the base here and then another in the screen part, so that you can take the screen off and use it as a tablet, but then also connect it if you need more battery power. I'm not so sure about this hinge design, to be honest. I think it's a little bit odd that when it's closed you can actually see through it, and there's a giant gap there. It's not just the hinge as well. There are a few things with the design of this laptop that are just ever so slightly off, and I don't know, make the experience not as good as using a Mac for me. An example here is when you open it, see how it like picks up and moves back? Whereas with a Mac, the base stays secure to the desk or the table or whatever it is. Because of this hinge as well, the screen is like quite floppy. And because it's a touch screen, you're meant to touch it, right? So I think it's a bit odd that it's been designed to move quite so much. One thing though that this computer has over the new MacBook is that it's got an SD card slot and two USB ports, as well as like a lightning Thunderbolt port or whatever that's called. I think they call it that on a PC, but it's that shape. Let's actually turn it on and talk about the operating system for a bit. So one thing that I quite like about it is this hello feature. So see, if I look at the laptop here, pretty badass. When you first set it up, you like teach it your face and then you just have to look at it and it opens up, which I think is pretty cool. Anyway, this came running Windows 10, which I had never used before. When it's working, it seems fine. It's just a case of getting used to where things are and how they're, different than it would be on a Mac. However, I say when it works because I've had a lot of issues with this thing crashing on me, especially when I was filming, which was very frustrating. Filming those tutorials for Adobe and the computer would suddenly do its blue screen of death thing. It was also doing this weird thing once with the File Explorer crashing, where every time I'd open it, it would just immediately close again, so I couldn't get files off it, which was also very frustrating. Just lots of little things like that it doesn't seem as stable as a Mac operating system. But using apps like the Adobe suite, it was really good because they work pretty much exactly the same on a PC as they do on a Mac, except you just have to remember to click Control instead of Command for the short keys. But my struggles with this, I don't think were just things being different to on a Mac. That is something I could get used to. But there was just a lot of cases where things just weren't as easy. Like screen recording, for example. I wanted to record my screen. On a Mac, I just open up QuickTime, hit new screen recording, and go. On this computer, I had to do a lot of research and try and find an app to download for it without downloading a virus, because there is a lot of viruses for Windows. That was a bit of a struggle, and it ended up wasting a lot of time because there's a lot of software out there and it's hard to know what's good. There's a lot of bad apps, I suppose. Basically, I don't like when technology gets in the way of creating, and I feel like with this PC, I was having to work against it to create my tutorials and get my designs done rather than it working with me and, being easy. Just to quickly touch on using the hardware though, the keyboard is definitely the nicest I've ever used on a PC laptop. It's got nice flat keys. The trackpad though, I'm not a fan of. I think, again, this is probably because I'm used to a Mac where you can click anywhere on the trackpad and it will, click the cursor. Whereas on a PC, you've got the right click to think about. So I very often found myself accidentally right clicking something when I meant to left click. The trackpad just isn't as nice and responsive as the one on my Mac is as well. And I found myself just sticking to this left-hand side of it for drawing and clicking on, because if I'd draw a shape and come over here and then want to click down, obviously it's going to right click. So I found that kind of frustrating. I don't think that's a very good experience for designing on with a Windows trackpad. Let's talk about this pen though, because this is a feature that I really like, and I'm going to take this out and put it in tablet mode. The pen and the touchscreen capabilities are definitely my favorite part of this laptop. It's so cool to be able to draw on your computer in actual design software. I know that iPads and the Apple Pencil are really popular these days, but I just think it's pretty cool to be able to draw straight into Illustrator. Since I've mostly been using this after doing the tutorials to draw in Illustrator, I guess I'll talk a bit more about that. It's nice to be able to draw as a vector rather than in Procreate, the app that most people tend to use for drawing on an iPad. You're drawing raster graphics, so they're based on pixels rather than points. Whereas here, if I draw, I can then scale this image up, scale it down, change the color or whatever. I also really like that this bit on the top is an eraser, so you can just like remove parts of your shape too. I found it difficult to draw a lot of details though, because if you get smaller, it's harder to like line up your start and end points of the pen, but still, it's all around been pretty good to use. I found myself wishing there was an app that just had really simple, basic brushes or whatever with an infinite canvas that I could draw my wireframes on. I found the Sketchpad app, which comes as part of like the touch tools in the tablet mode, but it's not ideal because the canvas is only this big. You can't pick things up and move them around, and once you save it, that's it. It's just a flat JPEG file. You can't come in and edit it again later or whatever. I did try using it for a bit though, because I find that I'm much neater drawing digitally than I am with an actual pen. I think really for me the downfall of this from a designer's perspective, aside from the fact that the operating system is just not stable enough for me, is the lack of great apps. I feel like people are more likely to create apps that are suitable and, you know, really useful for creatives for the Mac, because that's what's known as the thing that people most use. Like Sketch, for example, is only available on a Mac, and that's the software that I use for all of my web design because it's just absolutely ideal for it. I think more Windows compatible software aimed at creatives needs to be built before I could ever think about switching to using this as a full-time device. Now that it's back in laptop mode, I'll say I didn't really find myself using the touch screen in laptop mode. It just felt a little bit strange, I don't know, to be like poking at your screen, but again, maybe that's just because I'm not used to having it and I'm used to only being able to click around on a laptop. That reminds me too, one thing I really wanted to be able to do with this is use the pen for video editing, because when I edit, I'm constantly like cutting files and deleting space, so I thought maybe the pen could be really handy for like clicking on the exact place. But it's weird to use the pen on your screen, like you have to hold your arm at a weird angle and it's just not comfortable. And when I used it in tablet mode, I discovered very quickly that I cannot edit without the use of a keyboard. I need all of my quick keys to edit quickly. So that was out of the question, unfortunately, because I was really looking forward to using it for that. So all in all, as you can probably tell, I do not love this computer for design work and will be sticking with Mac for now. Remember, this is just one person's opinion and I happen to prefer a Mac. If you happen to prefer a PC and you're a designer, that's fine too. Really, the tools you use don't matter as long as you get to the end results and you have a process that works for you. So please take all of this with a grain of salt. I know throughout this video I've been comparing it to Mac a lot, and some of you might not have liked that, but this computer is not cheap. Usually I find people go for PCs because you can get something that is much faster performance or better specs or whatever for a cheaper price than you could a Mac. But this guy is quite expensive. So they're kind of in the same price range, and that's why I've been comparing them so much, because I think really if you're considering getting this, you could also consider getting a Mac as well. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed hearing my perspective on this and about my experience with using a Windows laptop for design. It's been interesting and I'm glad that I tried it out. I do recommend, if you're interested in this, you try it out for yourself, because like I said, some of the things that annoyed me about it and that I found with these little quirks might not be the same for you, so you might really like it. Now that I have this though, if there is any PC specific design software or tools or whatever that you want me to try and do a review of, let me know down below in the comments, because I'm definitely keen to do that. Please give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it, and make sure you hit that subscribe button if you're new to my channel, because I make new videos about design and technology every single Saturday, and then vlogs of my life here in London every Tuesday. So hopefully I will see you for the next one. Thanks for watching. Bye!